Hello and welcome to my channel, Jada Creative Wanderer. My name is Jada. So on my channel, it is primarily an art channel, but today I thought it would be fun to discuss the pros and cons in living in Taiwan. If you don't already know, I currently live and teach English in Taiwan. So I'm just going to go through some of the pros and cons of living here. So we'll start with the pros. So the first pro is how much money I make. So how much money you make abroad will vary depending on your job experience and where you teach. But from what I've heard in Taiwan, the average hourly rate is 600 Taiwan dollars an hour if you're just starting, which is just a little less than $20 an hour. But you should know that doesn't count the time you spend grading and planning. That's separate. They just count the teaching hours, which is why your rate for teaching is so much higher, because they're not counting that other extra work, which, by the way, over time becomes less and less. You get faster at planning, faster in grading, as you go. So at my school, I make $6.20 an hour, and at the end of the month, I make about 50,000 Taiwan dollars. A little more some months and a little less some months, depending on if there was a holiday weekend or something like that, which it comes down to around $1,600 US a month. On top of that, another pro is the cost of living. So I make about $1,600 US a month, but the cost of living is really cheap. My apartment is like $295 US a month. My water and electric is under $100, even in the hot weather. In the winter, my water and electric was around $30, $40. Now it's gone up to like $80, but I'm okay with that. So yeah, low cost of living. I think the most I spend money on is probably food, because I don't really like Taiwanese food, so I will eat Western fast food, or I will cook at home. I have a little burner that I can use. Alright, the next pro is good transportation throughout the country. So what I mean by that is it's very easy to get from the north side of the island to the south and vice versa. There's this high-speed rail train, so like to go from Taipei in the north to Kaohsiung in the south, it's like 2 hours on the train, so really easy. And there's also another train that's a little slower, but it's cheaper, so if you want to do that, sometimes the other train is a better option because it will actually drop you off in the middle of the city. And for the high-speed rail, some of the cities, it drops you off like way outside the city, kind of like most airports do. So yeah, you should really, when you're booking for a holiday weekend, check where the train stop is to decide which train you want to take. Alright, so the next pro is convenience. So living in a big city in Taiwan is very convenient. It is very easy to go grocery shopping or to get whatever you need, and you can just walk. So in my neighborhood, there's lots of little restaurants, and there's 2 different grocery stores, really just 2 blocks away. There's also a Subway that's about a 5-minute walk if I want to get Subway. And you could also use Food Panda and Uber Eats if you want something that's just not in your area. Right. the next pro is probably the most important one to me, is Taiwan is very safe. So that's like a big concern, especially if you're a woman and you want to live abroad and teach. So you want to pick the safest country possible. And I think Taiwan was definitely that. I almost considered China or Vietnam, but I went with Taiwan instead. Not to say that those two countries aren't safe, but Taiwan's got the best of both worlds, like as far as like it's clean and it's safe and convenient. So, and like crime is very, very rare here. Even crimes like theft is uncommon here. Whereas in Vietnam, I've heard it's very common to get your phone stolen in Vietnam. Alright, so the last pro is that it's very easy to find a job. Well, it's very easy to find a job anywhere in Southeast Asia teaching English. So just keep in mind that they need you more than you need them, and don't accept a bad contract and be very wary, because there are companies all over that promise big things and they don't fulfill them, and you need to read your contract very thoroughly and make sure you have a backup plan if things go south, because there are a lot of horror stories in the teaching abroad world. Alright, so let's move on to the cons. So the first con is obviously the language barrier. Now that's going to be a problem no matter where you teach English in the world, except unless you teach at a Western high school that teaches English literature, but that's a whole different thing. Yeah. The language barrier isn't a problem at your job. You're going to be speaking English the whole time. Your co-teachers who are Taiwanese, they are going to have fluent English skills, so that's not an issue. It's more of a language barrier doing your day-to-day life. Like if you need to do any sort of errands, sometimes you can't really get help from anyone. At least not as much help as you need, so you need to really be able to do things on your own and figure it out. Alright, the next con is transportation in cities. So the transportation to go from different areas of the country is pretty good, but in the city, not so much. Now Taipei is the exception. Taipei has excellent transportation because they have several lines for their MRT system, which is basically a subway. But the other cities don't really have an MRT, or they don't have very many lines. So I live in Kaohsiung, and there's only 2 MRT lines. And where I live close to my school because I wanted to be able to walk to the school. But if I want to go anywhere downtown, I have to get a cab to get to the MRT, because the MRT is like a 35-minute walk, which I was walking there when I first got to Taiwan, but now that it's the peak of summer, I can't do it. I am sweating like crazy just walking to work, which is half the time as it takes to walk to the MRT. So yeah, I need to get a bicycle. That'll probably help. And there's other cities that don't have an MRT at all, or there's one city that only has 1 line, so it's pretty useless to even use the MRT because it's not going to most places in the city. So yeah, if you want to live here, most people suggest getting a scooter. I don't want to get a scooter because I don't plan on staying here that long, but I can. And I also just don't like driving in general. I'm kind of scared of the scooters. And a girl that I trained with for teaching, here, she got into an accident and broke her leg and ended up going back home. I don't know the full story of that, but yeah, that's happened. So I'm just weary of scooters, so I'm just avoiding it. I'll take a taxi when I need to. It's not expensive. The taxi from my apartment to the MRT is like $3. So not bad at all. Alright, the next con is the heat. So I'm not surprised. I'm from Mississippi. It is very hot there too. And it's a different kind of heat. It seems hotter here. And also, the air conditioners here just aren't as good as in the United States. I mean, they're fine, but they're all basically, there's not like a one big system in a building. Each room has its own AC unit everywhere you go. So, and those just aren't made to last that long. And mine worked fine when I first got here, but now it seems so much hotter. I have it on 18 degrees Celsius and I'm still hot. So I don't know if it's the AC. I've looked at the settings and the settings are fine. I'm guessing the walls aren't insulated, so the cool air just isn't staying in the room. But I don't know, that's just a guess. So yeah, heat. Alright, the next con is this one. This might be true in other places in the world too, but I don't know because I haven't traveled anywhere else. But the beds in hotels and hostels are usually very, very uncomfortable. Like, I get that. Like, if you spend very little money, you're gonna get a bad hotel or a bad hostel. But what I don't understand, so the hostels and hotels I've stayed at here so far, everything looks really nice, really clean, but the beds are hard as rocks. I don't understand. They spend a lot of money in other areas, but not on the mattress. So when I first got here, I was training for 2 weeks before starting my job, and the company put me and my training group in this very cheap hotel, and I felt like I wasn't even sleeping on a mattress. I was basically sleeping on wood. That's how uncomfortable some of the mattresses are. So definitely look at reviews when you're staying somewhere to try and find a review that says they have comfortable beds. And I booked a stay in August at a hostel, and I found one that actually says they have comfortable beds. So hopefully that review was right. We'll see. Alright, so the next con. Okay, so this was frustrating. I have loans in the United States. So if you have loans in the United States or any sort of bill back home, it's going to be very difficult to pay those because whatever bill you're paying, they're not going to accept a payment from a foreign bank account. I don't know why banks work this way, but yeah, they won't accept a payment from a foreign bank account. So you have to send money to your home bank. Now, what sucks about this is, one, that you're going to have to pay a fee. And that fee to send the money is going to be around $30, maybe more, maybe less, depending on your bank. On top of that, if any information on the forms is wrong, your money doesn't go through, and you don't get your money back, even though you didn't do anything wrong. So I tried to send money back last month, and all the information was right, but the Taiwanese woman who was filling in my forms, she forgot one space. So in America, our bank accounts for our name, you'll have your first name, your middle initial, and then your last name, right? So she didn't space the middle initial. Instead, my initial was part of my first name on the form. And of course, I didn't see that when I was checking the form. I was checking to make sure the numbers for my social and everything were correct. I wasn't checking for a little space. But because I signed for it, I don't get that money back. So that was basically $30 down the drain. And I still don't have money from my account into my US account. Luckily, this isn't very luckily, because of COVID, student loans have kind of paused everything, so I'm not gaining any interest fees right now. So I can hold off from sending money until the end of September, but it's still frustrating that that happened, and there's really nothing I can do about it. So use this story as a cautionary tale to be very, very careful when trying to pay for something back home. Alright, so the next con is something that I wish I had known before coming to Taiwan, and no one really talked about it. I watched a lot of videos about Taiwan before coming here, and not a single person mentioned this, and I feel like it should be mentioned. So apparently a lot of places in the world you can't flush toilet paper, and that's the case here in Taiwan, which sucks. So, but it really just depends on where you are. So if you go on the MRT here, the bathroom stalls say to flush the toilet paper. So the newer the building, the more likely you can flush the toilet paper, but it just depends. And the reason you can't is because the pipes are too small and toilet paper can clog them up. So yeah, that sucks. So the last con is there are no public trash cans or dumpsters. No public trash cans, no public dumpsters. So the trash comes 6 days a week, and you're supposed to throw your bag into the truck, right? Well, for me and for many other English teachers, I work late afternoons and nights, and the trash comes at 7. So I can't even take my trash out until Saturday. And it doesn't come on Sunday, so Saturday's the only day I can take out my trash. So I usually end up having 1 bag of trash and 2 bags of recycles to throw away every week. It would be more, but I have managed to, when on my way to work, I'll throw away my trash at a 7-Eleven or a Starbucks, which I don't like doing, but I really have no choice. I'm not gonna litter. It's the worst thing about living here is the trash situation. Yeah. So I think that Taiwan should fix that and have some public trash cans, but I don't think they're gonna do that. So, what did you think about this list of pros and cons? If you live in Taiwan, is there anything that I missed? Is there anything that you would add? If you don't live in Taiwan, maybe you live in another country and you have your own list of pros and cons. Let me know in the comments below, and please consider subscribing to my channel. Alright, have a great day. Bye.